Welcome to Gospel Tangents, the best source for Mormon history, science, and theology. I'm Rick Bennett. In our final conversation with author Darren Parry, we'll tie up some loose ends and make sure that we understand his connections to those in the Bear River Massacre. We'll talk about his great-great-great-grandfather, Chief Sagwitch, who gave the first non-English testimony in General Conference. It's a very interesting things that he said, so you definitely won't want to miss this episode. Check out our conversation. All right. One other thing, I just wanted to make sure that I was clear on kind of the genealogy. So Sagwitch was the chief during the Bear River Massacre. I believe you said he had a grandson named Jaeger. I think we've
a son named.
Oh, it was his son.
Yeah.
And so Jaeger was just 12 years old during the massacre.
Yeah, Sagwitch had a few kids, but during the massacre, he had a son named Jaeger. Well, during the massacre, his son's name was Dabuzi, which means cottontail rabbit.
Oh.
That's what his name was. But he took the name of Jaeger after he got baptized.
Okay.
When the Shoshone started getting baptized, they couldn't go by these, Egypt wheat. And the saints said, no, you need to come up with a normal name. And so he took the name of Jaeger.
Okay.
And then they took the last name as Timbimbu. Okay. So Sagwitch came to be known as Sagwitch Timbimbu later on in life. And Timbimbu means rock rider. Okay. So people that ride on rocks and kind of a history type thing. And so Jaeger took the name of Jaeger Timbimbu. When he was about 20, he was baptized into the church. And so from that point on, Jaeger gets married. They live at Washakie, that old Indian community over by Tremont. And that was established by the saints to assimilate us into culture, taught us to farm, ranch. It was a farming community from 1878 to 1960. And so Jaeger's there, he's growing up, has a wife, and he ends up having 10 boys throughout his lifetime, and he names them all Book of Mormon prophet names, every one of them. In fact, my grandmother said most of the children that were born at Washakie were called after Book of Mormon characters, almost the whole community.
Wow.
And so Jaeger has 10 boys. His one son, which he named Moroni, Timbimbu, was my great-grandfather.
Okay.
And then Moroni had a daughter, May Timbimbu. And so that's where we get to
And May was your mother?
She was my grandmother.
Your grandmother, yeah.
And she had a son named Bruce Parry, and he's my dad.
Okay.
So that's how we get to this.
And so, okay, so as far as the institutional memory, if I can use that word.
Sure.
So Jaeger was there for the massacre, and then so your grandmother May heard about the massacre direct from
him, from her grandfather Jaeger.
Her grandfather.
And he lived to be really old. In fact, one thing a lot of people don't know about Jaeger, he was called out of the audience in the 1918 General Conference, and was asked to bear his testimony from the pulpit.
Wow. In
conference. And he went up there and he spoke Shoshone. And his bishop was the translator. And so the funny thing is, when I met with the presiding bishop earlier last year to talk about the massacre and our interpretive center, the church historian was there, Elder Snow.
Stephen Snow.
Yeah. So Stephen Snow was there, and he said, I'll bet you can't tell me what was the first language spoken from the pulpit at General Conference other than English. And I said, I know what it was. And the presiding bishop didn't know. Nobody knew. And a lot of them thought it was probably a Scandinavian, because a lot of those people joined the church. And I said, I know what it was. It was Shoshone. And he goes, you're right. How did you know? And I said, well, it was my great-great-grandfather that gave the talk.
Wow.
Gave this testimony. And one thing he said in his testimony that I just think is funny, I've got a copy of this talk in his testimony, but he said one thing. He said, the gospel has changed my life in a way that I no longer have a desire to kill the white man. I thought that was awesome. I thought, I can just see Farmer Joe on the front row of the tabernacle being, half asleep, hearing that from the pulpit. And I thought, that's awesome. That's classic.
Wow.
So, but that's what he said from General Conference pulpit. And so, yeah, he was served in a bishopric. He was the superintendent of the Sunday school for a lot of years.
Oh, wow.
But he was a survivor of the massacre, and he was actually the first one to be baptized into the church. So
Jaeger was?
Jaeger was.
Wow.
When Sagwitch had his dream and 3 men appeared to him in his dream and told him about a God among the Mormon people, he'd actually gone to Ogden a couple of times because he knew of the reputation of George Washington Hill.
Yeah.
He'd been a missionary in Idaho in 1855 to the Shoshones. And so he knew the language. Sagwitch went to him and said, you got to come teach us. And finally he said, I'm not a missionary anymore. You got to go to Salt Lake and they'll tell you what to do. Sagwitch sends Jaeger, his son, to Salt Lake to find the missionaries. And when he gets to Salt Lake, he's told that the missionaries that could speak Shoshone were out trying to convert the Goshute tribe out in Skull Valley, out by Tooele. So Jaeger doesn't go home and tell his dad. He goes out to Skull Valley and finds the missionaries to deliver this message of come teach us when you're done. While he was out there, he ends up getting baptized.
Oh.
So he was baptized 4 or 5 months before Sagwitch and the rest of his people were.
Oh, that's interesting.
But yeah, cool story. Just awesome legacy they left.
Well, and that was one of the other things about your book that I thought was interesting was it did seem as if I'm trying to remember how you phrased it in your book, you correct me, but you said something to the effect of the Shoshones joined the church as a means of survival?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of theories on this. We have oral history that Sagwitch was visited by 3 men in a vision one night in his teepee. And this was right 10 years after the massacre. And these men tell Sagwitch that they needed to quit their roaming ways and they needed to send for missionaries that would teach them about a God among the Mormon people. So that's one oral history that we've always passed down, and that's what we believe. I have friends, though, in the academic world, in history, that says BS. Sagwitch joined the church to save his butt. I mean, he joined the church because he knew he wanted to stay here. He wanted to live here. The only way that was going to happen and live a decent life was he needed to join this group that could teach them their ways, teach them to agriculture and how to farm and ranch. And so I absolutely think that's possible too. If I'm Sagwitch and a smart man, that's absolutely an option.
If you can't beat them, join them.
To join these people.
Mm-hmm.
And by joining them, you actually save your own people. Save them from that depredation lifestyle and trying to forage for food every second. Now you learn how to plant crops and much more sustainable life as far as trying to make it from year to year. So, yeah, I absolutely believe in both theories. You can have a spiritual reason for it, but I think our Heavenly Father wants us to be pretty practical about things too. And so it's not lost on me that was probably one of the reasons as well.
It was pragmatic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, great. Well, is there anything else you want to share with us? Anything we've missed?
No, I'm just grateful for the opportunity to share the story of our people. I never shy away from the chance. Hopefully in a couple of years, we'll have a beautiful interpretive center at the site that we can gather. You can go in, and it's going to be much more than a visitor center. It's going to be a place that you can go in and see how the Shoshone people lived, learn the language if you want. And we're trying to restore the land to what it looked like in 1863 with native plants and we're working really closely.
You're going to get rid of all those Russian olives.
Yeah, that's the first goal. At Utah State University's environmental people have been really good about partnering with us to make this happen. So we want it to be a place of learning for the community, not just for us, but for the whole community.
Do you have a website or anything if people would like to donate?
We do, and it's boaogoi.org. That's BOAOGOI.org. Boa Ogai means Big River.
Okay.
And that's what the Shoshones called the Bear River before the pioneers changed the name to Bear River.
And you've just got 2.5 million more to go, is that right?
Yeah, we're getting close. I've raised just over 3, and we want to get to 6.
Okay.
So if people want to donate, they can go to that website and donate securely, or they can mail a check to our tribe office in Brigham City. And January 29th is the anniversary, 158 years of the massacre. So we have a small program. Normally, there's about 500 people that attend, but we're not going to invite people this year because of COVID restrictions in Idaho. And just we want to be safe with the community. But what we are doing is BYU was going to film it with 3 different cameras. So one to get the behind the scenes thing, but we're going to film this 1-hour program. They're going to edit it and make it available on YouTube the next day.
Oh, wow.
So people that have normally gone will be able to hear the whole commemoration activities that day. So they do it safely from home.
Cool. I'll see if I can get that link from you.
Yeah, I'll make sure that's provided. So,
okay. Well, Darren Parry, thank you so much for participating here in Gospel Tangents. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I hope you enjoyed our conversation with author Darren Parry. Darren, thank you so much for taking so much time, taking me to those sites down there in Idaho. That was really a lot of fun, and I'm sorry to know what happened to your people, but excited for the new center that you guys are building. So if you guys haven't donated yet, go to boaogoi.org and you can donate there, or you can also donate to the Shoshone, the Northwestern tribe of the Shoshone Nation in Brigham City, Utah. I've got the address here, and you can donate there. So love to see them break ground in 2021. They've got about $3 million more to get, so please help donate if you can. It's going to be an awesome center, and I can't wait for the grand opening of that. In our next conversation, I'm excited to introduce Joseph Freeman. He's a history maker himself. So he was the first black man ordained after the Revelation in 1978. It was surprising to me to find out that he was a preacher in the Holiness Church before his conversion to Mormonism.
My grandfather was a minister, a Baptist minister, and then my mother was a minister in the Holiness Church, and all her life until she died. I became a minister when I was about 18 years old, and all my life, since I can remember, 3-4 years old, I had the desire to be a minister.
Thanks for listening. If you'd like to hear the entire interview uncut, sign up at patreon.com/gospeltangents, and for $5 a month, you can hear the entire interview without any interruptions. If you'd like to see the whole video, that's just $8 a month, and you can sign up either at youtube.com/gospeltangents or on our website at gospeltangents.com and click the yellow subscribe button. Or you can go to patreon.com/gospeltangents, and I'll just need to make sure that we're Facebook friends, and I'll add you to our insiders group, and you can see the entire interview uncut. If you'd like to get PDF transcripts of our interviews, those are just $10 a month. And for just $15 a month, I will send you paperback versions of our transcripts as soon as they come out. Or, of course, you can buy them on Amazon as well. Go to Amazon.com and do a search for Gospel Tangents interview, and you can see all of our transcripts there. Don't forget to sign up for our updates at Facebook.com/gospeltangents. Of course, you can follow us at Gospel Tangents on Twitter. To hear our interviews updated to your podcast player, go to tinyurl.com/gospeltangents and make sure you give us a 5-star review. And of course, you should show your support for Gospel Tangents with one of these cool t-shirts like this green one, or light blue, sport gray, royal blue, purple, of course black, beautiful gold, and of course Utah red. I probably left out some colors, but if you want to see more, go to gospeltangents.com/shop and you can get one of these. So once again, thanks for listening. Click here to subscribe, here for a transcript, and over here we've got some more of our great videos. Thanks again.